Hello YouTube and valued viewers, Byron at Splitting Slices. Welcome back to the Knife and EDC channel. Today is Monday, July 13th, 2026, and that means first of all, I hope everybody had a spectacular summer weekend. We sure as did here in central Indiana. Got a little work done, had a little fun. Actually went down to the Case Forged in Freedom event in Richmond, Kentucky on Saturday. So later this week, we'll show a few of those knives. But today, we're going to talk about knife number 8 in the 10-part series called 10 by 10 Knives. Now, this is an open hashtag response to Tobias Gibson over at Knife Chats with Tobias. He said, show me 10 knives, 10 consecutive days, and talk about each one for around 10 minutes. And I can surely do that. This is knife number 8 in our series of 10 knives and is the last or number 3 of 3 current releases to date of the PPP Club Knives. Now, long story short, Paddy Potatoes Peelers, along with a few of his friends, decided they would like to try to make some of their own traditional pocket knife designs. Got in touch with Arthur Wright and Sons, and in order to help spearhead this effort, as well as provide some additional Sheffield knife makers some work, we have started releasing these club knives. This is number 3 and the last one currently to date. This is called the Bear End Senator. Now, a little bit about this knife. Let's go over the specifications. I'll go ahead and sit it down here on the table and we'll talk about it a little bit. So, this is a lamb's foot. My blade has so slight a recurve back into the tang, but it's basically a lamb's foot Wharncliffe blade. It has a crescent nail nick in the blade for opening. The knife overall length is 6 5/16 inches. It is the smallest of the 3 knives that have been released to date. The blade length is 2 3/4 inches with a 2 3/8 inch long cutting edge. Now the blade height on this at the tang is 1/2 inch. The blade stock thickness when this knife was made was 3/32 of an inch. The pull on this knife is the strongest of the 3 released to date. My version I'm going to rate up around an 8 to 8.5. It has got one heck of a heavy pull in order to get it open. I do believe if somebody had some arthritis or some nerve damage in their hands, this would not be the knife for you. And I mention that because unlike the first 2 knives, there are still a few of these Bear End Senators available. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. Now the scale construction on this knife is PurpleHeart wood. So it's got a nice red tint to it, almost a reddish purple color to it, a plum, if you would. We've got 3-pin construction on this PurpleHeart wood scales, brass liners, overlaid covers, 3-pin construction to the frame of the knife. We got nickel silver head bolster, no fluting, no threading, small pinch there at the tang of the blade, and then nickel silver, we've got, I believe, brass pins in this one. So brass pins, brass liners, okay. The PurpleHeart wood covers, and then just a regular head bolster on this Bear End Senator. Now, of course, the Senator is a traditional knife pattern that basically is more or less equal-ended, but has a slight belly to the handle that kind of tapers down into your center of your hand and then back up to an equal end. So, no tail bolster on this, therefore the Bear End part of the name, Bear End Senator, but a nice looking head bolster, but very simple in design, very functional, and a very sharp knife. Now we're talking C70 on the knife steel, or on the blade steel on this one, and of course, let me go ahead, I guess, pick this up and focus again. Of course, as with all the PPP Club Knives, you get that 3-leafed shamrock clover tang stamp with a P in each leaf for Paddy's Potato Peelers. All right. So that is the knife. Let's turn it over here. You can see even on this, the manufacturing from Arthur Wright, no gaps, No sunshine at all between that spring, carbon steel spring, and the brass liners or bolster. No jimping on the spine, just a very simple squared off spine that goes out to the tip. And of course, we are calling that a lamb's foot blade. And again, if you look, you can see mine has an also slight recurve back into the tang. So not exactly a flat blade, but certainly a sharp one, and is an excellent knife for doing utility cuts and pull work. And actually, this one I think you could even use to penetrate a bag or two, since the spring tension on this is heavy. And again, I'm going to rate this somewhere between an 8 to 8.5 on the spring tension. It is definitely the heaviest tension of all the 3 knives that I've purchased as far as the 3 club knife releases to date, and something you may want to consider. Now, unlike the first 2 club knives I've shown, this knife, as I understand it from last week's Paddy and Pals podcast, there are still a few of these knives available for purchase. So I will leave a link in the description with Paddy Potato Peelers' email. You need to email them and let them know that you are interested in purchasing this knife. I believe the only payment accepted is PayPal, friends, and family. You can cover any of those questions in an email to them along with your request to purchase. Now, this knife retailed for about, if I remember right, it was somewhere between I think it was just right around $80, or it ended up being around 60 British pounds sterling. So by the time you did the conversion rate, plus added another, I think it was $15 to $16 for postage, international postage, I think it cost me somewhere around 85 to 90 US dollars total. Now, it is a smaller slip joint, and it is carbon steel, but it is handcrafted and handmade by Arthur Wright and Sons. And so that's a pretty darn good price, even for a handmade traditional carbon steel knife, and probably one that if you like collecting these type of knives, you should consider owning. All right, now again, that's Michael Harrison, Ashley Harrison, and Beth. They're a one-time apprentice, now full-time knife maker. The only 3 of them at the factory that work on these knives. And so you are getting a Sheffield, England made knife. And we're trying to kind of help their business along and keep them in business and keep the knife making going in England. So consider getting one of these if you like these style of knives. Like I said, there are a few still available for purchase. You can contact Paddy and talked with either Paddy, which is Stephen, or Jud, Justin, over there at Paddy and Pals Podcast, and they can talk you through the process. All right, well, little over 8 minutes. That's really going to do it for me on this one. It's just been a really nice carry. I will say that's a pretty strong pull, and I do struggle a little bit getting this knife open without breaking a nail. There's not a whole lot of that lamb's foot to grab when the knife is closed, so you do have to rely on that nail nick, that crescent nail nick at the center of the blade. And you need to have some pretty strong nails, a real thick thumbnail to get that open, at least mine. Now, I've heard most everybody else said their pull on this one was a little stronger, but I'm definitely going to rate this one around an 8 to 8.5 on the pull. So, with that in mind, consider purchasing the club knife number 3, and stay tuned to the Paddy and Pals podcast, which airs every Thursday afternoon. Here in the States, it's around 2:30 Eastern Daylight Time in the afternoon. And you can stay abreast of when the next PPP Club knife will be released to the public for purchase. Now, they're trying to do 2 to 3 club knives a year. And we've already had this release this year of this Bear End Senator. So I think we're expecting another knife here, maybe in about a 1.5 to 2 month time frame, just to give you an idea. But again, stay tuned to the podcast. And again, that's Paddy's Potato Peelers YouTube channel, and the weekly podcast is called Paddy and Pals. That's going to do it for me. Byron at Splitting Slices saying split a slice with a friend soon. Enjoy your club knives, and until my next video, everybody please take care.